Everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and moment of silence. I pledge
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And there's no changes to the agenda or any add-ons this evening?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. The public participation policy applies to all selectmen meetings.
I make a motion, we approve the January 14th, 2025 agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Now I'll read this.
There we go.
The public participation policy applies to all selectmen meetings. A copy of it is on the back of each agenda, posted outside this meeting room and on our website. Where, don't see anyone unless anyone has any, public input. I don't see any public input. We'll close it to public input. No appointments this evening. And we'll go right into new business. Water Department, Jones Field backup generator purchase.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm bringing this up tonight, as you know, we had an emergency situation come up at the Jones Field Pump House. Their backup generator had, the engine had seized. The generator was in excess of 20 years old. They weren't able to repair it or get it back into use. At the time, we were renting a generator. It was roughly $2,800 a month to rent. So we were in a situation where we needed to make a replacement. We called all the distributors that we had contacts with. We called a few electricians. Generac was the current model that was there. Unfortunately, Generac, we got one price for $40,000 for a 100 kilowatt generator, which is the same replacement size. We got another quote from another distributor on a 100 kilowatt Generac for $50,000, not including installation. But the bigger problem was that none of these 100 kilowatt generators that they were quoting out were available for 18 to 26 months, weeks. I'm sorry, weeks. 18 to 26 weeks. So the delay, the time frame of getting it was really going to be an issue for us, especially with some of these windy storms and things that are coming out, that if we went down without power, we would lose all of not only residential water in the village, but fire suppression too. We would lose all our fire hydrants. So with that said, I did pull the board. We were able to get a rep to call around and find a 100 kilowatt Kohler generator that was comparable in specs, but that was in a distribution center, brand new in a distribution center in New York. And it actually arrived at 8 o'clock this morning.
Okay.
So we were able to purchase it. It was $36,000. So it was the cheaper of the three options we had. Plus it was immediately available. So to give you a current update, the board had expressed unanimously through a poll that the consensus was that they were in support of moving forward with the purchase. So the purchase was made. The generator arrived this morning. The old generator has already been disconnected and removed from the pad. Is on, you may see it down by highway. The new one is on a pallet on the ground. And the old one had been disconnected and removed today. Tomorrow, the propane and regulators and all the prep is being done, and final wiring install will be done on Thursday. Also, there was some discussion that $36,000 from New York, the delivery didn't include installation. We had talked to a couple of electricians about the Generacs, and we got a quote for $10,000 for install. Unfortunately, when we did go to the Kohler, a few of those electricians had withdrawn their quote because they were Generac certified installers and not associated with Kohler. But we were able to get another install price from a local contractor, and it came in. Originally, we got an $8,000 quote, but the excuse me, it came in at $7,750 for install and startup. So, really at this point, obviously we pulled for the emergency situation and made the purchase. I don't need the board to vote. But for the essence of transparency for the public and for us to discuss it as a whole, I always feel it's good to bring it back up
Mhm.
and make sure that the public knows what we did, why we did it.
Right.
And what the outcome was. So happy to answer any questions anybody has, or if there's any conversation that you'd like to have further.
Again, in lieu of the electricians that did not deal with Generac or Kohler, I should say. This was the only quote that we did get for the.
For the
Kohler.
COLA, yes.
Yes. For the $7,750.
Mhm.
Ryan, is the new generator, I assume is a multi-year warranty of sorts on, I don't know. what that means.
Yes. Yeah, in the spec sheet, I believe it, off the top of my head, because I believe that there's two separate warranties. There's a full manufacturer's warranty, and then there is a longer engine and powertrain, I believe.
And the experience with the existing generator, I don't know how often that runs, probably significant amount of time. So I would assume that 20 years, we don't have anything to complain about. But going forward, is there anything we might have missed as far as preventive maintenance or anything along that line?
Note the town does have a contracted generator company for all of our standby generators. They do regular preventative maintenance. This had been up to date on its preventative maintenance. One of it had sustained a crack, and I don't know if it had something to do with the extreme temperatures that we had too, and something to do with the coolant line that caused it to seize. I was told that, it's 20 years old. There is a lot of sitting, but when that pump comes on, it's a huge draw. Because to be honest with you,
Sure it is.
when the call came in from the water superintendent, I was very surprised that there was 100 kilowatt generator down there. That's a big generator for that pump house. And then she explained to me the significance of the draw when that pump is constantly working. So I guess when it runs hard.
It's a V8 engine. It's a big motor.
Yeah.
Is this basically the same size as the old?
It's comparable
Comparable
in
in every
every,
way.
in every aspect of it. Wattage, amperage,
Mhm.
fuel type, 100 kilowatt. We tried to match up everything as close as we could.
Yeah.
Because the generator worked good for as long as it did. There was no need to upsize or downsize from
Mhm.
there.
Any other questions?
Well, I did notice that the proposal also didn't include the remote monitor. But are we able to utilize what's already there for the remote monitoring?
Far as I know, I'll have to verify that one. That wasn't something that I had originally, but I do know that the components that were there along with the switch and everything, we did send an electrician out because we were concerned that we were gonna have to buy new components without utilizing a gen rack. But because I know this is a little out of my range, but what I was told is that it's a 2-wire AST. And that was compatible with the COLA, and that had to do with the switch. But I had to send an electrician out there to verify that because I didn't know what it was. So, but they did verify that everything that we had existing aside from the actual generator, including the pad, was going to work. With the new
Transfer switch itself.
Yes.
And. All right, any other questions? Okay. Are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the update on that. Okay, interest waiver 314, Big Barn Door Island Map 81 Lot 1.
Mr. Chairman, you'll find a memo from the tax collector, town clerk,
Mhm.
Jen Collins. She put together a memo with points of fact. And there is a letter from the resident or the taxpayer themselves and some supporting information Really, I guess it boils down to, they claimed that there was an issue with the post office.
Mhm.
The notices went out as they have always done.
Yes.
There's never been any late bills. It's never been a problem before. I don't know why it was a problem this time. It wasn't anything that the town did.
Well, there are times the postal service just drops the ball on things.
Mhm.
I've had trouble in the last couple of months with it.
I have to.
So I mean, if this isn't a current, common occurrence, I mean, I don't know what you guys feel like, but.
This hasn't happened, like you said before, with
No.
with these people.
The mail service has been experiencing difficulties, not just locally, but I mean, all over the state and
Mhm.
nationally.
That's
So,
true, there has been quite a problem.
um,
Yeah,
so I don't feel that we should be penalizing this individual for the inability of our mail service. So I'm gonna make a motion that we waive this interest fee of $122.27.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it for new business, old business, Mill Pond, redemption grant. Remediation grant.
So I brought this up again, just for a quick update, so the board knew where we were at and where we stand. Last time we talked about this, the town was going to get a grant through New Hampshire Lakes. They had gotten some money to support some of these grants that DES wasn't able to support last 2 years, I believe. We were either on a third or a fourth attempt. And we are able to move forward. We just submitted our full submittal now. But part of this grant, and I want to just refresh everybody's memory if they weren't involved in it or if they're new to the board and weren't aware. So the idea with this proposal for Mill Pond is that the work, the remediation work and the plan is by the parking lot across from the central fire station. But it's dealing with a lot of storm runoff that's coming off of 140 down the hill at the end of letter S. I'm not letter S. School Street, at the end of School Street, and
Yes.
as it comes down 140, it comes down and it's leaching down in across the property. So there's a private property owner that owns the corner that's off of the parking lot. Their last name, it's the Griffin's property. And originally, when we had gone through this, there was part of, so one of the sediment forebays that is proposed technically is on their property. So we needed their permission. They've met, they've been on board with all of our applications up to this point to allow the town to utilize that corner of property there, to basically filter out sediment before it washes right into, Mill Pond. And as we know, Mill Pond's experienced a lot of problems with, contamination. So where we're at with this is now that we're pretty sure that this is all going to be a go and we're moving forward, the members, of the community conservation, Dana Huff is, volunteering a lot of his time putting this package together. They met with the Griffins again, let them know where we were at. In this email that I provided with you, was the fruits of their discussion. And basically, on the last page, you see, an email from the, basically recapping their conversation. And there are six, seven total on the back side, of points of conversation that would be included into a formal recorded easement. And it's similar language to a lot of easements about, the town being responsible for maintaining it, for any catch basin clean out or anything like that. Really, that's, the gist of most of it talks about, trucks being parked there during the construction time and things like that. But you're free to read through that and also think about it in some ease. I wanted to put it out now because there's got to be a process. If the board decides and we're going to move forward with this when the money is available, I got the first email I have, you'll see, is from town council. And I asked him how the board would need to proceed with because it would have to be a recorded easement. Permanent, because
Yeah,
obviously we
definitely.
couldn't go doing this work on a temporary basis or on a handshake, unfortunately. So in order for the board to adopt an easement of this type, there are 3 different ways that it has to occur. 1 and 2 are both through warrant article. We're a little late to put it in right now, plus we don't have the funding yet. And 26 would put us outside of the scope because we only have 6 months when the funding does come in. So we would be going through the 3rd process, which is a statutory process, 4114A. And what that is there's a series of public hearings. It has to be recommended by the Conservation Commission. Then it has to be recommended by the planning board. There has to be 2 public hearings. Then it goes to the select board, and then there's an additional hearing in the vote. But basically, I honestly, my feeling, based on this scenario and this thing, I think this is a better way for the public because the public doesn't get to ask questions when it's a warrant article. Public hearing, especially being in front of the planning board and conservation, where it involves, water contamination, stormwater runoff, people can actually look at the plans and what's planned to move forward and, ask questions of all the boards, not just the select board, before it gets to you folks for a decision. So it's a good, thorough process, but it will be, there will be a few month process.
Sure.
So I thought it was important that now that I had this information that we talked about it ahead of time, because the funding could come in within the next month or 2, and we'll have to start this process, and I didn't want it to be a surprise to anybody, so. So really, I'm just putting this out so you folks have the information. We got a chance to talk about it. Happy to answer any questions, but also happy to answer any questions as we move forward with the process, or you have time to digest anything that's in this email chain.
Well, it's understandable with the request that they're making of their property, and the 7 categories of what they're discussing, of the responsibilities of the town and not theirs, which is totally understandable.
Yeah, I don't see anything.
It's pretty standard. Yep. It's pretty standard form. Is there any estimation in what this would cost?
Yeah, well, there's I can't give you an exact number without the paperwork in front of me, but I believe that the grant money is a little over $100,000, and then we have some in-kind match that will come in play too, because the way that this was planned out and put originally when Scott Kidman was involved, there was a spreadsheet put together. And of course, we've adjusted those rates since then because it's been a couple of years for, trucks, labor and stuff.
Right.
But most of this is going to be done with in-house force labor.
Yeah.
From our highway guys and equipment. So we should be, the way it's all broke down right now, it looks like we'll be in good shape with our soft match.
Good.
Of work going into that, but I can certainly, before the board, the town, you folks are gonna have to accept the money.
Right.
Moving forward, so that everything will be in front of you, before you make that decision, meaning not just, cost breakdowns, but also the actual plans.
The actual plans to look at it, how it's
that
gonna
are
be
laid out, yeah.
achieved now, because I think it's an important project to be done.
Yes.
Well, like you said, with the runoff coming down 140 and School Street. Okay, any other questions?
Do we need to vote? I'm sorry. Do we need to vote on how we want to proceed with this, or is this?
No,
I don't think so.
no, we don't need to vote on anything tonight. We haven't received the money at all, and it would be a time when you guys actually hear to accept the money from the grant, you would decide on how you would want to proceed with this. And then you can take some time to think about it too. Right? We don't need a decision until the money comes in.
Okay.
And we have to have the funding.
Thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Mhm.
Okay, interests, let's see, we already did that. Warrant articles.
Okay, gentlemen, on the table, there's an updated copy of the warrant articles. And there was just a few changes, additions to rationales, a couple of changes on there. So please use the copy on on the table here. So, you guys have a couple of options tonight. Mainly, we printed these out with the rationales. This is the way that you're gonna see them in your binder at deliberative.
Right,
We do one-page articles to make it clear, make the print a little better, and you can also make any notes that you want in your binders or to go forward. So what we definitely need to decide tonight is we went through and randomly picked selectmen to move to second and to speak to each warrant article. It's in the red at the bottom.
Mhm.
You can certainly feel free to change that or swap with any of the other members as we go through. The other option you have tonight, and it's up to the board's pleasure, doesn't have to be done. But now that we've gone through all the warrant articles and we're gonna go through them just to look at this, we don't necessarily have to read
Right.
every single article. But when the board last met and voted on these at that time, we were down one selectman who was away. Even though Dick had provided a thorough breakdown of his thoughts and opinions that we did go through and speak to, he wasn't able to cast a vote for each one of these. So as we go through and look at this, if the board should choose, we could give out the article number and make a motion. We'll bring it up for a revote. And not necessarily have to read every single article because we've already been through every one of them. We can reference it
Just
by
reference it,
article
yeah.
number. If the board would like to cast a full vote.
Richard, would you like to do that? Would you like to be able to vote on every one of these? Like we did the other night? And go through them quickly? without reading them completely?
I watched the entire meeting on our nifty YouTube setup, and I don't have any additional input. The only benefit we might have if we revote is so that the public can see that the board was in favor 5-0 as
5-0,
opposed to
right.
4-0. And I don't know what that might be worth, but certainly if we feel that's the case, I don't know if we can legally make a motion across the board for the whole stack, or if we got to go through each
Well,
one of them.
If we go through, just mention the article and what it obtains, not read the whole thing, we could vote on them relatively quickly.
Yeah, that's fine.
If you'd like
Whatever
to do
you
that, then
guys are
you
most
get your
comfortable
vote
with.
on there.
I will say, I would like to say, I appreciate the board giving some consideration to my input. I felt bad about not being able to be here, but I think my views were represented well, and you gave every consideration I could have asked for. So thank you.
The only other thing I have a question is, just before the deliberative, we'll have the capital reserve amounts and each and
Yes.
every one. So we're gonna wait until then to have those amounts.
Yeah, those balances are blank only because we didn't want to cast any confusion between drafts because those balances change right up to the week of, especially at this time of year because we're paying out all of our warrant, everything. A lot of money's transferring at the end of the year before our audit is scheduled in March. So that's why we will have current and updated information on every single one of these four balances. Thank you for bringing that up.
Okay. Yeah, no, I was reading that and I wanted to clarify that so everybody knew. I say, in my opinion, we should just go right through this, starting right with Article 8. And we could revote, and we can also look to see if everybody's okay with the way that's written for move, second, and speak to. If we're good with that, we'll approve it as we go along.
Sure.
Is
Absolutely.
everybody good with that?
Absolutely.
Okay, Article number 8, benefit pay capital reserve trust fund. Is everyone okay with me moving it and speaking to it?
Absolutely. Yep, I
Yep.
agree. How are we gonna do this? All in
Okay.
favor, yes.
Okay, yep. So for Article 8, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, sorry. Article 8, just read the title.
Art-
But we're gonna have a motion in a second.
Okay, yeah,
Just.
okay. This is for Article 8, benefit pay capital reserve trust fund.
Motion, we approve Article 8 with Paul moving it, Drew seconding it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Will that work?
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
And that
perfect.
way
That's
we-
perfect.
Right.
Okay. Okay, Article 9, which is a town operating budget.
I make a motion, we approve Article 9, the town operating budget, with the budget committee speaking to it and moving it.
Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Article 10, waterworks operating budget.
I make a motion, we approve Article 10, Waterworks operating budget, with the budget committee moving it and seconding it and speaking to it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Article number 11, capital reserve fund appropriations.
I make a motion, we approve Article number 11, Capital Reserve Fund Appropriations, with Paul LaRochelle moving it, Drew Carter seconding it, and Paul LaRochelle speaking to it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article number 12, fire department equipment capital reserve.
I make a motion, we approve Article number 12, Fire Department Equipment Capital Reserve, with Mr. Morse moving it, myself seconding it, and Mr. Morse speaking to it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article number 13, fire department building improvements capital reserve.
I make a motion, Mr. Shea, you okay with that? With speaking to it?
Sure,
With
yeah.
moving it, I should say? All right.
Yep.
Article number 13, Fire Department Building Improvements Capital Reserve, with Mr. Shea moving it and me seconding it and Mr. Shea speaking to it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article number 14. Sorry?
I just said I'm beginning to pick up a pattern.
Oh. If anybody else wants to,
Yeah, if you
Pitch in.
guys, before I do this, if you guys see any that you want to change, just let me know first. Article number 14, Fire Department, I make a motion, we approve Article number 14, Fire Department Additional Personnel, with myself moving it, Mr. Shea seconding it, and myself speaking to it.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Article number 15, highway building improvement repairs capital reserve fund.
I make a motion, we approve Article number 15, Highway Building Improvements Repairs Capital Reserve Fund, with Mr. Morse moving it, myself seconding it, and Mr. Morse speaking.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article number 16, bridge replacement capital reserve fund.
I make a motion, we approve Article number 16, Bridge Replacement Capital Reserve Fund, with Mr. LaRochelle moving it, Mr. Carter seconding it, and Mr. LaRochelle speaking to it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article 17, highway equipment capital reserve fund. Just
I make-
Article 17.
Okay, I make a motion, we approve Article 17, Highway Equipment Capital Reserve Fund, with myself moving it, Mr. Shea seconding it, and myself speaking to it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Article number 18, retaining wall capital reserve fund.
I make a motion, we approve Article number 18, Retaining Wall Capital Reserve Fund, with Mr. Morse moving it, Mr. Carter seconding it, and Mr. Morse speaking to it.
Second.
For discussion, I have a question on the rationale. Should we explain in the rationale that a lot of this work has been done?
Now, should we have a percentage of it?
We should actually have that in the rationale, actually explaining how much of the wall has been done and
Okay.
what has been spent on it and what we need to.
Sure, we can certainly add that.
Can we do that?
Mhm. Yeah. It did put in there that a lot of the work, just that we had repaired portions, but I can get more detail.
Yeah, because I think he went quite a ways. Retaining wall capital reserve fund.
It's bigger than
Oh,
yours.
you're in the wrong stack.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, these ones have been edited already. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Okay.
Just the rationale, not.
Yeah, just the rationale. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I did.
You did do that.
This is the current one. I did add
Make
in
it
there
longer
that
for me.
the town has repaired portions of the wall in the last few years.
That's what I needed to do.
Okay.
All right, that's it. Perfect. Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't think these were different.
Make it
It's
longer
just
for
some
me, Paul. Good
additions
job.
to the.
All in favor?
Aye.
Article number 19, grounds and maintenance vehicle and equipment capital reserve.
I make a motion, we approve Article number 19, Grounds and Maintenance Vehicle and Equipment Capital Reserve Fund, with Mr. Shea moving it, myself seconding it, and Mr. Shea speaking to it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article number 20, town hall building improvement capital reserve fund.
I make a motion, we approve Article number 20, Town Hall Building Improvement Capital Reserve Fund, with Mr. LaRochelle moving it, Mr. Morris seconding it, and Mr. LaRochelle speaking to it.
Second.
I just want to double check something, please. I'm looking at the rationale again. Perfect. All in favor?
Aye.
Article number 21, town hall part-time personnel.
I make a motion, we approve Article number 21, Town Hall Part-Time Personnel, with Mr. Carter moving it, Mr. LaRochelle seconding it, and Mr. Carter speaking to it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article number 22, new Riverside Cemetery capital reserve fund.
I make a motion, we approve Article number 22, New Riverside Cemetery Capital Reserve Fund, with Mr. Morse moving it, myself seconding it, and Mr. Morse speaking to it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article number 23, highway reconstruction capital reserve fund.
Okay. I make a motion, we approve Article number 23, Highway Reconstruction Capital Reserve Fund, with Mr. LaRochelle moving it, Mr. Shea seconding it, and Mr. LaRochelle speaking to it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article number 24, IT capital reserve fund.
I make a motion, we approve Article number 24, IT Capital Reserve Fund, with Mr. Carter moving it, Mr. LaRochelle seconding it, and Mr. Carter speaking to it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Me and him switched it, yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna write that down.
I was gonna have him switch with me on the next one. Oh, no, these are, this one never that.
Okay. Article number 25, solar exemption.
I make a motion, we approve Article number 25, Solar Exemption,
Yeah, I'm good.
with Mr. Morse moving it, Mr. Carter seconding it, and Mr. Morse speaking to it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Article number 26, police department equipment capital reserve fund.
I make a motion, we approve Article number 26, Police Department Equipment Capital Reserve Fund, with myself moving it, Mr. Shea seconding it, and myself speaking to it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Article number 27, non-profits.
I make a motion, we approve Article number 27, Nonprofits, with Mr. LaRochelle moving it, myself seconding it, and Mr. LaRochelle speaking to it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article number 28, welcome to Alton sign.
I make a motion, we approve Article number 28, Welcome to Alton Sign, with Mr. Carter moving it, Mr. Morse seconding it, and Mr. Carter speaking to it.
Second.
I have a question on that.
Sure.
It's a petition. This isn't gonna be, the $10,000 is not out of taxation. This would,
Yes, it is. That's what the petition article is
that's what
asking
the
for.
petition article is asking for,
To raise,
yeah, right,
to raise the 10,000 through taxes.
okay. Okay, you seconded already, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposition? No.
Last one.
Yeah, I think that is. That was it.
If I can just add real quick before we move on, so we did get another petition warrant article that came in today. They do have a few more weeks into to submit final petition articles. We did get a new one in today that you will be seeing as soon as the supervisors of the checklist verify the actual signatures. It's in regards to raising the veterans credit for 100% permanently and permanently disabled. The 100% rating. So a gentleman had reached out to us with a draft of it, so we're going through right now to make sure the language is gonna be right. And he's gonna bring in the signatures for the checklist. Once we have all that, I just figured I'd give you a heads up. We do have one more coming in. The other thing I wanted to tell you is that in your time when you're looking at these, and now that you know which ones that you'll be responsible to moving and speaking to, when we voted on these tonight, we voted on the articles and the people doing that. The rationales are not part of that vote. Those are just information for you folks and notes. So at any point in time, if you read through some of your articles and you want to know more information or you have questions, please reach out to me because I am happy to get you any backup information, any additional facts. And part of the changes that you saw tonight, the reason I went back through and did that, actually, a lot of them were suggestions that Dick had put into writing. And we talked about, adding more specifics.
Specifics, yeah.
About different, projects that we might have in mind, like for the town hall, the retaining wall. So I did make those changes to kind of bolster the backup information. But again, I don't want you to hesitate that if you do look at this ahead of time, I'm happy to prepare something or get you any additional information if you think that something would be
think-
good for that.
The more prepared is the better.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right,
So- I'm sorry. Stacy did inform me that the deadline was today, so that article did make it.
it did make.
It did make.
Oh, it did.
It did
Good.
make it,
Good.
but
Okay.
it's the deadline. I was mistaken in that I thought there was a little more time,
Mhm.
but today was the deadline, but it did make
Good.
it into.
Good, yep. Okay. Selectmen reports, Drew.
Milfoil Committee, actually, Dick and I were on a Zoom call yesterday with the committee. They have the new contract information is in. There is an increase, kind of somewhat of a surprise, I think, to everybody. But it was explained to us that apparently the last contract, they had made an error. They did not include the cost of the certified mailings that all have to go out, which is a pretty significant number. But in an effort to offset some of that increase, not all of it, they did reduce some of their other fees. But overall, it looks like it is an increase. They recognize that they've already requested the $10,000 for the warrant article. And so they think they can make it work, but it's going to be tight next year. Or in coming years. So they're hoping they can rebuild the coffers. Did I miss anything?
No, I don't think so. The two things that struck me was, there really is only one firm that, does this in a manner that our people are comfortable with. And it is, I think, if I remember right, it's a 3-year contract, so at least
Yes.
we got 2 out years of no more surprises.
No.
And I'm a little bit concerned because unlike the recent past years, the state this year is facing something of a budget deficit. And since they have the say on how much of a matching grant that they provide, which has been 50%, we're counting on 50%, but that might be at some risk compared to past years.
Okay, you have anything else as far as your committees or anything?
No, I don't know, Ryan, how we stand with hazardous waste. Of course, this time of year, it's fairly dormant, but
Correct.
Did you ask any of the questions that we had asked for vetting some people. And finding out a list of what their applicants were for some of the things that we had asked about.
Are you talking about hazardous waste?
I'm sorry, you're talking about hazardous waste.
Oh, you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the process of putting together a whoopee-doo manual on how to
Okay.
operate a swap shop.
Yeah. Very good, thank you.
But to answer Dick's question about hazardous waste, I did actually get some communication from the town manager in Wolfboro and their finance officer, tidying up some of the last minute bills that had come back through from the end of last year, closing those out, and they had asked to see if we could schedule another joint board meeting. As you know, Sarah was very integral in setting those agendas, taking the minutes and doing everything on that end of things. She was our coordination for the joint board. So I'm going to take that on there and work on setting that date. So I'll be in contact with you directly to see what's going to work for you on one of those mornings or coming up.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
nothing earlier than 8 AM.
Oh, no, no, no. You're not gonna have any arguments from me on that.
Andy?
I'm good. I have nothing.
I have nothing new.
Okay, the ZBA had a meeting on January 2nd. Had two cases that were continued, one administration appeal and a special exception that'll be continued to February. And we had one special exception that was approved, an equitable waiver that was approved, and one variance approved. And that's all I have.
Okay.
Town administrator report.
All right, the only thing I only have one thing for you tonight. So in your book, you'll see the solid waste facility holiday hours. I wanted to bring that back to the board just for an update. We noticed that there was a couple of typo errors in the original list that had gone out. And what that was, there was two. One, Columbus Day was listed as the 10th when it's actually on the 13th. And on New Year's Day was actually a Wednesday, January 1st, not a Monday. So we made those typo that the girls caught in the finance. So we made the changes and we reposted it and corrected it, but I wanted to make sure the board formally knew that we did make some changes because there was errors. And then the New Year's Day on Wednesday was actually, they didn't close it on New Year's Day for Wednesday. The employees got compensated for it. Those were the only two changes. Everything else, the intent of it remained the same. It was just, there was some errors on, I don't know if he was looking at the wrong year or whatnot when he was looking at some of the dates, but
Okay, very good. Thank you.
thank you. That's all I have for tonight.
Okay. Let's see, approval of the minutes for December 23rd, 2024, public session.
I make a motion, we approve December 23rd, 2024, public session minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I can't cast a vote.
I actually had a comment on them. You moved a little too quick
Oh, I
for
was
me.
waiting. I looked over. I'm like, is he gonna?
Yeah, we waited for a split second.
Pause. Go ahead.
The fire department sign quotes, we had talked about the electrical as well. And getting that trying to get that rolled in to the cost.
Mhm.
And I also wanted to just clarify, it's not just that we're purchasing the sign, we're purchasing the installation of the sign as well. So
Yes.
it's just, yeah, it just doesn't say that, so. That was my own comments.
Okay.
Can I so move? Can I amend mine for that?
Yeah, you can amend your motion to include the
I'd like
edit.
to amend my motion to make the edits that Mr. Carter had mentioned about the fire department sign with the installation being included in the overall price of the sign.
We have a second.
I'll amend my second to a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Got it.
Got it.
Amending stuff.
Hey, why not?
Okay, consent agenda. approval. I make a motion to approve the consent agenda for January 14th, 2025.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
There are no requests this evening. No public input this evening. And we,
We do have, I'm sorry, at the back, there are some appointments.
okay,
In the back of your binder, there is two, there is for two appointments for the Parks and Rec Commission. Oh, I'm sorry.
it's on
No,
the.
never mind. It
That's
was
on
on
the-
the
that's
consent.
on the
That
consent.
was my fault. I saw
Yeah.
the forms.
I was just looking at it on
Oh,
consent.
my
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, those
Thank
two are
you.
both on there.
Wonderful.
Okay. In that case, we'll, I make a motion to enter into a non-public meeting per RSA 91-A:3, 2, under I. You know,
L.
sorry, L. Under L, not I. Roll call. Drew?
Yes.
Dick, yes? Yes.